Thank you for inviting and for introducing me to the community. What I'm going to speak in the next about 15 to 20 minutes, it's our practice and experience in engaging patients and adopting innovation in healthcare, mostly through digital trust and value back for shared data. So my background is in public administration, in specifically in electronic health and electronic government. And I'm one of the co-founder of Pryv, which I joined in 2014. To start the presentation, I would like first to focus on the first two words that you see on the screen, data and privacy. For us, data today for healthcare means pretty much the most valuable asset that drives the personalized healthcare, the early diagnostic of diseases, the personalized not only medicine but care at home, and drives the entire empowerment of the patient. Then privacy for us means no secrecy. For us, privacy means the ability for people to understand how their data has been used and also to receive something in exchange. So following the discussion and the presentation of Chino.io and Jovan, it goes a bit in the domain of the consent management and how to make the person or the patient feeling confident with sharing the data. Speaking of the patient, I'll bring you back in the beginning of the story and how the idea around creating this company was born. The person you see on the screen is Pierre-Michel Legris. He's our CEO and also co-founder of Pryv. The idea of Pryv was born by him being a patient who was fighting a very tough disease. And during overcoming it, his doctors and he pretty much found out a correlation between his working performance as software engineer and bone marrow crisis. So the data gathered from the external world, the real world data around the working performance per day, was able to predict better such crises. So after he overcome the disease, he decided to invest his knowledge and patient experience in building so powerful data model which can enable different healthcare organizations to gather data around the patient, being whatever makes sense, which can be the data coming from the geolocation, what exactly is now the temperature here in Nyon in Switzerland, what exactly means to me that I work X hours per day, what exactly is the impact for my nutrition, and so on and so on. So the first idea around this data model was to create something that I believe will be pretty famous today, a private book. He was joined by Simon Guma and by Frederic Mo to create a B2C platform which enables individuals, not specifically patients, but citizens to connect to whatever service that makes sense in their personal lives and to collect this data at one single place, aggregated and shareable at a very granular basis. So this was the first idea of how to use this powerful data model and the software of Pryv to enable a service for the market. And then in 2014, during the business restructuring, I joined the company with different message. The added value that I saw helping the healthcare industry was coming from the fact that it was very easy solution to bring cross-border compliance. On one hand, as we just heard, you have the typical industry standard around health data, like the EPA in US. You have also the regulations around personal data and data protection act, like on European level, the GDPR. But you also have like a bunch of other regulations to respect, both on the technical and the business side, and the regulatory, which can be on a national level or an institutional level, on a business level, what exactly is the business model of this product or service. So once we identified that we have this tool to empower businesses to stop worrying about all of this stuff, but really to focus on their core innovation, to bring patient engagement and patient-centric product, we decided to invest our time really on the personal and patient data centricity. So this was how we decided to invest our time, knowledge, and experience to empower different projects that I'm going to present you today. For today, I prepared 4 different cases proving how the privacy and the transparency around gathering very intimate and sensitive data can actually improve dramatically the adoption of healthcare. And to be fully honest, it's pretty easy. Actually, it sounds complex, but it's not, as it said, rocket science. Of course, we didn't build all of this, the 2 of us, all alone. Actually, we gathered a team with very diverse backgrounds, mostly Swiss engineering and business people with compliance backgrounds and very solid ethical vision of the world, to be able to design something and help the adoption of the healthcare innovation in the world that we live. So if you allow me to take a step back and to look at what exactly is the definition of personal data, it can be very broad. But the truth is that it is involved in any personalized mobile app or medtech or connected device that we see now on the market. And the experts say that the applications built on personal data will represent about 1/4 of the annual growth of Europe, which is quite impressive. And it's something huge. So we start looking a bit deeper into it, investigating what is the portion that the personal data will take specifically in the healthcare industry all along the patient journey, starting from a patient-centric real-world evidence clinical trials, going through a home care, patient hotels, and early diagnosis of diseases, also patient support programs, self-management of different diseases from diabetes and beyond, going up to how to use this personal data in an aggregated manner with statistical data to bring optimization and personalization in insurance models. So while looking at these 4 pillars in our practice in the past years, we have focused that there is one repeatability, that in all solutions there was involved the very same way to capture data through this part of the Internet of Things device in the medical sector. And it doesn't mean that it should be a wearable or, let's say, a blood pressure device. It can be simply a phone. My phone is recharging right now, but actually the phone by itself, it's a data bank that becomes the home of plenty of applications that can very easily gather the data that is crucial and is key for unlocking life-changing solutions. So in the past years, different people were giving different answers. Will this adoption of medical IoT fly or not? The good news for me, for you, and for our families is that the truth is that it has been very well adopted, because we see it on a daily basis, the ambitious and the adoption of different devices. The reason for that is very simple. It brings comfort. And comfort for patients means freedom outside of the hospital institutions while still receiving the very same crucial care at home. So speaking of the phone, as I already mentioned, it is considered today not to be a simply device that you make phone calls and you exchange WhatsApp messages or whatsoever. It is actually a very handy tool for you to manage your data. Now, further on, we're going to speak more about privacy and the consent management and how it is respected. But before that, if we focus the attention really on how the different connected devices has been used in different customer cases in our practice in the past years, I'm going to share with you the first one. It's called Care Anywhere. Actually, it's something that is not yet commercially available on the market. It's a project that has been co-developed with partners like Ericsson, Orange, Verizon. It's quite complex project with the mission to prove that very different actors all across the globe can contribute and collaborate in building a joint solution to enable care anywhere. It consists of a very easy way to connect with a mobile device and different connected devices, body scales, wearable activity tracker, to visualize the data and to make the aggregation of it. And if you zoom a bit the screen, you're going to see that it covers the entire patient journey from booking appointments with the doctor, going from monitoring of the data, then sharing this data in a private, consent-driven way with a secondary opinion doctor, then also giving navigations about the pharmacies, which is the closest by to take the medication. Here the engagement part was coming exactly of the granularity of sharing the data and the ability to run and to cross borders, exactly as you cross it with your suitcase, but to bring your data with you. Later on, at the end of the presentation, I'll explain you in few words how this works technically in a plug-and-play mode. But before that, the next case that I prepared for today is the use case. It's both valid for insurance and reinsurance. For our case, it is the study of a reinsurance company where the consent of the citizen, not specifically patient, has been obtained in exchange for a value back that was accepted, to have, let's say, a very easy monitoring either from the wearable device or from the connection between the phone and the antennas, to track the geolocation with some external factors. The good outcomes of this one was that, for example, for a lady that is living close by here in France, in Chamonix, and is following very healthy nutrition routines, was proven to be at a very high risk, because even she was making all the steps and was following an extremely healthy nutrition plan, she was running in an area which is one of the most polluted in Europe. So actually, she was decreasing rapidly her health score. And the insurance, by having this aggregated data between the pollution in the air, in the air, the weather forecast, and her own personalized data, was able actually to help her improve her health. The very same data with different algorithms plugged to the very same data sets was able to prove some insurance frauds for people who smokes but declare they don't, but by very easy connection that a couple of times per day this person is following the same routines by having the same amount of steps in direction and the way back, which was a signal that the person might be actually a smoker, even declaring he or she is not. The third one is one of my favorite. It is a Swiss platform and a service for helping actually elderly people. It's a system that consists from sensor devices and smart algorithms, also to detect very early some very serious diseases like Alzheimer, and also to ensure the comfort and the safety of elderly people at their homes or nursing houses. So the added value here, because today we're speaking about patient engagement and sharing of data, so making more data available in a trusted exchange, here actually the added point was how actually to onboard the family in a trusted and compliant way to receive an information back how their beloved ones feel. This is going a bit in the sense how data is shared between different actors in a trusted environment, cross borders, still following the very same regulations. Here I prepared another case for you, but respecting the time, I'm not going to run the YouTube video for you. But for those of you who are interested, I'm going to send you the link on YouTube to check it out. It is co-developed with our partner in Spain, Pulso Project, and Smart Cardia, which is a wearable manufacturer in Switzerland, as well with the support of a couple of other partners in Switzerland. We designed an intelligent system for tracking people after surgery. where the crucial moment again is how to empower and how to re-engage the patient to share more data by actually giving access to this data to the family, the nurses, and the caregivers. Now, if we have to summarize what is the common between these 4 projects, and if you're one of these digital health transformers who build the service, what do you have to do? You have to think exactly what type of health product to solve, where is the biggest need. You have to be innovative. You have to make a system or service, a product which is very usable. But you also have to take care of a compliance, as it was presented in the first presentation today. So there, what we see is that all of these projects were heavily relying on access to personal data, while today the access of this personal data is at risk. And it is at risk because first of all, everything that happened these days around privacy, data breaches, Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, MyFitnessPal, and beyond actually educated the society and the normal citizen what data means. On the second place, we have onboarded the GDPR. People start reading, people start receiving millions of emails around reassigning to different services and updates. So strictly and rapidly, actually, the access to personal data start really shrinking down. And for businesses, it becomes more and more difficult actually to make sure that this data is secured and they can run their platforms, products, and businesses. So what we saw in the past 3 years since actually we started distributing our software to different companies, mostly in Europe, is that most of them try to build this data lake that links technology standards interoperability and legal and compliance interoperability matched with how to use the data to build a reliable and innovative business model internally. So they start gathering teams of experts, but the practice showed that in most cases it's pretty much often not considered that you have the need to get the 3 skills at the same time, and it's extremely difficult to combine them into one. So this was the moment where actually they came and said, okay, we fail. And we start looking why these projects fails. And this is the statistics that we found, that about 70% of the in-house development of this complex data lake around data, which is complex, sensitive, health, medical, clinical, personal, environmental, industrial, actually it's not easy to be combined, aggregated, and merged. So this was the moment where actually we said, okay, instead of bothering the lives of these healthcare transformers with this data challenge, let's help them to revert this challenge into a return of investment and into competitive advantage on the market. So let's shape for them everything that we have around this patient empowerment, engagement of the patient, sharing capacity, sharing for value around a single product that works the plug and play. And this was the moment where actually we decided to work around 3 main pillars. The first one is to ensure this unlimited data connectivity around whatever it's important around a single individual. It can be anything, as I mentioned already in the case of Pierre Michel gathering his working performance. We have another case around allergy, where actually it was crucial to collect the weather forecast with the geolocation of the person who was traveling very often as a businessman in different countries to adapt the treatment as per the allergen forecast. Another case was how to collect the data and integrate it in a clinical environment for a lady in depression. Actually, the signal of her psychiatrist was to measure via IoT sensor the water that was available in a pot, in a flower pot. I see that we are very short in time, so I'm going to skip a bit through the slides that I prepared, what exactly the software of Pryv does. So if you're interested, we can take an offline discussion. I'll just take 1 minute to close this webinar to explain what you see in red is pretty much what our software does. It's installed mostly on the premise or per the choice of the digital health, medtech, insurtech, life tech company. So they can focus really on their added value, like bring your own device, your user interface, your analysis, and make it run in as few as 3 days, for example, which is a typical customer case for us. Here you see from another perspective what is the role of the middleware. It's to sit in the middle. So what you see in red is how easy it is to aggregate the data sources that is important for the business case, how to run different algorithms. And why I insist showing this slide as a conclusion is because of the part here. Actually, in most of the digital health companies, we miss to see that the family, the friends, the beloved ones should be involved. There should be a technical way, a portion of the data to be shared, because the more I share, the more I trust. And if you think about it, when you have a headache, the first person that you're going to ask is your colleague. Then you're going to go to your house. If you have a stomach pain or something like this, you're going to knock on the neighbor's door. And you're somehow used to share data with the people you trust. So this is why we're advising always the companies that we work with to pay an explicit attention how they're building their system from day one, from the very beginning, on a granular data level. So this data is shareable between different actors, thinking about external people like family and friends. I'm saying external to the healthcare industry, but very internal to the people that are actually generating the data, and which we call humans of data. I will not have enough time to complete the presentation, but here you can see what was the value around patient empowerment, sharing of data, privacy preservation, and we can speak later on about this topic. Thank you very much for having me here, and I'm looking forward to supporting as much as possible, directly or indirectly, the adoption of digital health product, and mostly through the channel of empowering patients and their pivotal role in the healthcare industry as of today. Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Evelina. And you have to run, I know, but I want just to, there were like 3 questions. Perhaps you can, answer them offline as well, like generation gap. How do you see like elderly people, using like apps or services? What is your experience? And then it's about the projects for health data. And there are a lot of projects on now coming on blockchain. What are your thoughts or plans on this? And then the third one is like, are you just storing data, or do you have like additional services like analytics, AI, machine learning? This is what
So
I
if I
got
want
here
to
directly.
answer the 3 of them, I'm going to do my best. So to the first one about the elderly people, it's about the usability. So I can share very quickly one use case. It is for tracking elderly people with Parkinson. So for example, for them, what was done is to put a sensor that is usually used for football performance on their back, so they don't feel it. It's something that they don't see like my wearable device on my wrist, but it is something that is attached. So their caregivers can let them go and walk outside of the area, and even if they get lost, they received automatically an SMS with the geolocation of the person. So
Okay.
all the one of them safety, for example, the sensors are embedded in the fridge door, at the door of the toilet, in the bed, and so on. So it's not really visible for the patient who is the elderly person. Now, going very quickly to the next question, which is the blockchain. Actually, it's very interesting, because if you think of blockchain, which basically does not erase the data, and GDPR, which asks you to erase data if the owner wants to be erased. And for one of our customers in the life science, in pharmaceuticals, we developed, it's still in development, a proof of concept of what we're calling chain of blocks. It is to prove the traceability of the data. and to provide a data trial audit. It is proving that the data stays genuine, and at any point I can prove my consent given, what exactly I opt in, and that I requested the data to be deleted. So there will be a stamp about my explicit consent, but it will be still recorded in the system.
Okay.
And the last question was, do we provide the data storage, or we also provide artificial intelligence or something on the top of the pyramid? These really very unique solutions are very specific, exactly if you're tracking dementia or you're tracking diabetes. So what we designed is really not around the data structure. The data storage, we're making it in decentralized way so it can fit to different national laws, but we really centric around the data model. So basically, different algorithms can be attached to the very same data structure and provide and reinject the data back. But the algorithms are driven by our customers.
Okay, and then we have a very last question. So for 10 seconds from Donatella, how do you collect data about medication adherence? So
this is again the business case that comes from our customers. But what we have been seeing so far is that the simpler it is, the better it is. So during clinical trials, if we're speaking about patient compliance, it's something very interesting. It's not yet a fully designed project, but what is the goal is to build a very simple mobile app in which it's like a reminder saying, dear Thomas, take your pill at 9 in the morning, and they know that in 40 minutes is another 90% of the people you're going to have a side effect. So they're sending you another question, did you have like a headache or sweating or something? And when you say no, and they know that you have to have it, they automatically record that you didn't take the pill. Another case with medication is again only with taking the drugs. It's very like gamification driven reminder to take the drugs, and on the backbone you see if there is any conflict with some of the ingredients, because they're like decomposed to very small atomic pieces of stored data.
okay.
Was it fast that I answered?
Yeah, absolutely great. You made it like straightforward. No, I think, and if you have questions, comments, reach out to Evelina. We are going to provide anyway the replay and presentation, the video you mentioned as well next week for all the replay information. Yeah, I think that's it for the moment. Hope you join us on the panel. I think you have to run away. But for the ones who are joining or waiting now for the next session, please join now the next meeting room or the webinar room. Give us like 5 to 7 minutes again to prepare, and we will be back as I said, in 7 minutes time. And yes, thank you very much, Evelina. Very interesting, great insights. And yes, talk to you later.
We joined the Q&A since we're running with a few minutes delay. We joined the Q&A session around 7:40 European time.
Yes, we have like the panel with all of you who presented, and if you like, you can join running around or just with your mobile phone, as we are a great technology partner bracket like with ISON. So yeah, talk to you later. We have to go to the next session. Helena is already waiting for me. So
Very much, and
thanks.
talk to you later.
Talk to you later.